Good evening, guys. It is April 9th, 2017. It is still Palm Sunday, and we're going to bring you different intricacies about General Flynn and why he was taken out.
He had advised not intervening, and he wasn't convinced that Assad had done the chemical weapons in 2013.
And unfortunately, for those of you that are just kind of awakening because of Donald Trump, you're now on the scene, but you had no idea that this happened in 2013.
Right.
You need to be brought up to speed that this has already happened once before.
Right.
To go in and move in and to take out Assad has been on the agenda for years. Even before 2013, it's just being brought to a head right now.
So in 2015, on a trip to Russia, and yes, he did go to Russia, and yes, he did speak to RT. We need to be able to speak to each other in different countries, right?
RT is a news outlet, so why can't Flynn go and speak to a news outlet?
Right. Okay, so whether the 2013 sarin gas attack in Syria was conducted by the Syrian army or by other forces in an attempt to draw the United States into conflict. If you watch our Syrian girl episode, you would say that she believed it was the same thing. Flynn not ruling out the possibility of a false flag attack raises questions about how the Trump administrations will approach the Syrian conflict. The Obama administration, the Arab League, NATO, and many Western governments had pointed to Syrian President Assad's regime as being responsible for the attack. I don't trust the Obama administration as far as I could throw the whole dang thing. The United Nations investigation didn't assign blame, but evidence from the report pointed that the regime being responsible, but it didn't come to a conclusion.
As far as CNN, this is a CNN article from before, is concerned, just because there was evidence that pointed toward it, then that's good enough for them. Although the UN did launch an investigation, and there was no solid, you know what I mean? They didn't reach a conclusion at the end of that.
The one thing the media is doing is playing fast and loose with facts. And that's what you're not going to see us do here. We research, we find things out. If we don't know things, we're not going to bring it to you, something that we don't know. But as we are studying this, I am really concerned that Assad did not and was not proven with every eye on him, and it couldn't be proven for sure without a shadow of a doubt, and the media is playing fast and loose with the facts saying...
You guys are going to have to go back and rewatch other episodes that we have done tonight. We're going to try to put them up in order, so hopefully you've already seen them.
Right.
But if you didn't, you're going to need to watch it all to get a full understanding.
At this event with RT, Flynn was asked by an audience member his take on reports the attack was carried out by Turkish intelligence and made it look like it was the Syrian government.
Because there's no possibility that Erdogan could have done anything, ever.
He says, that's an interesting question. What keeps me up at night is the use of chemicals and biological weapons by terrorist groups that have the intent, they have the intellect, they don't necessarily have the specific types of capabilities yet, but I believe that they will have the ability to get their hands on them. I think that all of us globally need to really pay very close attention to that. And when studying General Flynn, I found that he was red-pilled, that he understood what was going on in the world, and that he knew that we were fighting with radical Islam. Now, what concerns me is General McMaster was overheard telling Donald Trump, don't say radical Islam, say radical Islamist, like it's just one person.
Meaning, because if you say radical Islamic terror or terrorists, you're assigning blame to the entire radical Islamic agenda.
Right.
But they want to once again put a politically correct term on it, and you can't politically correcticize, I just made that up,
so
the radical Islamic terrorist thing. You just can't do it.
One of the awesome things that Flynn has said is that there's this cancer and this tumor kind of growing inside of, this Muslim faith, and it's been there. I want to take you right into this interview here. This is from 2015.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
On the 2013 gas attack in Syria.
Right. August 2013, our Secretary of State immediately blamed it on the Syrian government. And yet lots of reports suggest that actually the Turkish intelligence services were largely responsible for that, partly because the sarin...
The incident, because
Well, this is the incident around...
I got a lot of things in my head, but that's not one of them right now.
No problem. This is the incident around Ghouta, just outside of Damascus,
Yeah.
where there were sarin attacks, which turned out to be sarin not in Syrian government stocks, but rather homemade sarin. And the reports thereafter indicated that Turkish intelligence may have been involved, and the whole purpose was a false flag attack to get Obama to attack Syria overtly with warplanes and missiles, and that it almost succeeded. But can you enlighten us as to how you read or how your agency read that incident?
You know, I mean, the context of it, the specifics of it. When I'm asked what keeps me up at night, what keeps me up at night are members of this Islamic state, whatever you want to call them.
That's not what I asked.
I know, but I'm gonna address your question because it's a good question. I mean, it's an interesting one. But what keeps me up at night is the use of chemicals and biological weapons by terrorist groups that have the intent, they have the intellect, they don't necessarily have the specific types of capabilities just yet, but I believe that they will have the ability to get their hands on them. And I think that all of us globally need to really pay very close attention to that. Your specific question, I really don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know. And to have that level of knowledge or insight or detail of what an intelligence service is doing to do a false flag, who knows? So I don't have a good answer for you. I'm not able to answer your specific question. What I know is that the complexity of the situation on the ground right now is beyond anybody's wildest imagination. And Sophie highlighted it in one of her questions, and I think her question was a very good one. It's all of the things that are happening, not just in Syria. This is happening in the region in a big way, and it's also so the things that you're talking about. There's this tit for tat, or there's this give and take, and people are doing things. There is deception being used. There is false information being used. This slide that I have up here is a component of that false information, or how false information is applied. So we have to understand, and this is why I think Sophie's driving me crazy up here, trying to get me to be more specific, because right now we do have to be more specific, but we have to be much more specific in our relationships, far more specific in our relationships. And so there's not a misunderstanding, and there's not a miscalculation because of some ill-advised tactic that's used in Damascus or Baghdad that causes something that we don't want. Okay. Well,
Do you understand what he was saying there?
Oh yeah.
It was. Go ahead.
Essentially what he's saying, and I get it. He didn't have the specific. I'm more apt to lean with the guy that was asking the question, that it was, Turkey or whatever that had influence. However, what he was saying is he was addressing more to the point that we have to hit at the terrorists, and we have to hit at radical Islam, and there is misinformation, and they do have the ability to get these chemicals, and they're going to have the ability to weaponize chemicals like this, and whether it's homemade sarin gas or anything like that. It is such a dangerous thing if we do not address the fact that it...
Wait, I just want to interrupt. There is deception being used.
Exactly. He already addressed that, but that is inculcated in radical Islam. That's what they do. They have that taqiyya that allows them to lie to your face, right? And to tell you they support you or whatever, and then behind your back, they know you're their enemy, and they can take you out and stuff like that. And that's exactly what they have done in this instance, and that's why it's called a false flag. Not that these little innocent children were not injured, but who was responsible, and that's what the false flag is about. But Flynn went straight to the heart of the deal, and which is why Lee and I wanted to bring this to you. Where is his heart? His heart is in taking out radical Islamic terrorists that have chemical weapons.
Right.
And that's pretty much what he said.
And I want to bring you the second interview. I can't do General Flynn for hours, but these two interviews that I wanted to bring to you.
Show his heart and show where his mind is at.
And say this guy was ousted, and the guy's in Mattis and McMaster don't have this view on radical Islam.
Right.
I believe Mattis said, hey, listen, actually, the jihadists don't represent Islam. That Islam is a religion of peace. That is not in line with General Flynn. Now, could they have balanced each other out? Possibly, yes. I think they could have worked in General Flynn. General Flynn actually traveled with, and he was Donald Trump's national security advisor on the campaign. He was the one encouraging Donald Trump to say radical Islamic terror. Donald Trump surrounded himself with Steve Bannon, Kelly Conway, General Flynn, and Jeff Sessions, and amongst some others. And these were people who
they're the reason why Trump got elected. And you will notice that there were times where Sessions was asked to recuse himself, Flynn was taken out, and Bannon has been forced to step down from the Security Council. And so you're seeing all of these people that are responsible for Donald Trump. Kellyanne Conway is next. I mean, at some point.
And she's already. And Scarborough was like, I can't even have her on because she said a wrong word at one point. It was just weird.
They are systematically taking out and replacing everybody that put Trump in office.
From what I understand, Jared Kushner is texting Scarborough with negative things about everybody.
Yeah.
So here he is. He's being asked, what is the difference between working with, like, Islam and working to take down communism?
Hides behind a religion. Hides behind this notion of it being...
Radical Islam hides behind a notion that it's a religion.
You know, that religion is the big part of it. When I believe that the cancer inside of the ideology is actually grown so much, and so the scale of it is actually, it's not like, you know, under communism where we had sort of East versus West, and we sort of knew the enemy was in the Warsaw Pact and you were aligned to the Warsaw Pact, and it was a very physical thing, even though it was the ideology of communism. We still had to fight that ideology with our own belief system, our own ideology, our own idea of freedom and democracy and such. This ism, radical Islamism, actually there is no nice clean boundary of East versus West. Actually, this particular one is finding its way, as it says in some of the documents that we've captured, finding its way into the bloodstream of our own body. You know, the body of the United States of America, the body of Europe, other places around the world that where Islamism did not exist, radical Islamism did not exist. I mean, in just the past 45 days from the sort of this week, in the last 45 days, we've seen Islamic State inspired or directed attacks in 22 countries. Almost 150 attacks, in fact, in 22 countries around the world, and over 7,000 people killed or wounded. We have to recognize that soft power only works on soft things, and we need to recognize that there is a recognition of tough diplomacy. There is a recognition of power in the world that exists, in the reality that exists around the world today, especially as it relates to radical Islamism. And that's where we have to toughen ourselves. We're going to have the resolve to carry this thing through. And like I talk about in my book that we just published here recently, we talk about creating new 21st century alliances where we have to bring in the Arab world, who I know some of the leaders in the Arab world recognize that they have a problem. They have a problem. If they don't fix it, it's going to get worse, far worse than they can control. And that is where I begin to see very clearly the real potential for even greater conflict, instead of trying to put this fire down a little bit, to try to settle this problem down and contain it. Right now it's uncontained. It's spread. The disease has spread. The problem's getting worse, and we, the United States of America, we don't have a coherent strategy. We have a failed strategy, and that's very clear from, listening to our president trying to describe what it is, and also watching events unfold around the world that are frankly putting the world on edge as it relates to the Muslim community and certainly as it relates to the...
So General Flynn was asked to step down by President Obama, and then Donald Trump picked him up, I'm probably sure, on Steve Bannon's bequest and behest. And now I have to tell you guys, when Flynn was forced to resign and we knew it was
you feel it in the gut,
and Obama tapping all of everybody's phones, trying to just find something. Right. And then they spread it throughout the mainstream media. They spread it through all the Democrats, and they hit it on mainstream media over and over and over again. And Donald Trump, I believe he caved on this one. Now, there is a battle going on, and you're going to, and for the first time, I'm really...
But there's going to be losses on both sides. Like, this is one where we felt it.
This is one of those movies
where one of your guys has been taken out.
You ever watch one of those movies where you're like, why did he have to die?
Thank God he's actually still alive, but the fact that he's not able to fight, he's not on the team anymore, is such an unfortunate loss for liberty and justice, and for the safety of our country.
Boromir that died in Lord of the Rings? He didn't want him to die. I can't remember. I
can't remember. We've seen him 100
All right. Okay. So that's kind of my little. That's a section on General Flynn that I wanted to give. So you knew his heart. You knew where he's coming from, and the fact that General Flynn was one of the radicals in there.
And they had to take. Like I said this in another segment. I'm not sure if I can't even remember if I said it here, but if you didn't see it, they had to systematically take Flynn out.
Right. He was their first guy. He's like, Flynn can't be in there.
We will not be able to convince Trump to bomb Syria
and take out
Assad and do a regime change as long as Flynn is there, and they did that.
And the radical Islamic agenda wouldn't be able to go on if Flynn was in there.
Exactly. And same thing with Bannon, and they forced him to step down from the Security Council.
Which is why we have to be the voice, because Flynn had to step down. His Twitter account, he was on Twitter, right? As soon as he had to step down, he was done. He couldn't post anything else. I mean, this is taking people, the deep state took this man's life. He's not dead yet, but he's politically dead. He's just dead to life. So we need to be his voice. We need to speak out.
And you know what?
We haven't had any generals come out like this and speak out on the national spotlight.
I actually have a plea for General Flynn. We need you to be, and I know this sounds silly, to be tweeting, to be out there, to be giving the truth. And I know that your life probably is in danger. The CIA could have you killed. I know that. Okay, for doing this. But we need your voice out there loud and clear. We need you on Fox News. We need you on Tucker Carlson. We need you out there giving your opinion on these events. You know what I mean? And I think that your safety, and he's a general, he knows way better than I do, but I think that your safety is in publicity, because if you're out there and then, you know what I mean, they can't come after you. I mean, they can, but I'm just saying, we need you. We need these voices so that people will listen. They will listen.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, we need to sign off this segment. For Resistance Chicks, where it's not a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Mass Faith 3 and Resistance Chicks. Ring the bell for notifications and find us on Facebook and Twitter. We love you guys. God bless. Again, once again, we still have hope. We have not given up hope on Donald Trump, but we have got to wake him up from
We're all in this together. We have to fight together.
And I think that he is waking up. I think that he has heard the voice of the people. I'm hoping slowly. Keep going with your hashtags of Fire Kushner.
Cold all alone, no place for